Welcome to a discussion this afternoon of the $4 billion meat and poultry, air, water, and energy market. The market is part of a much bigger market, a $63 billion market for all air, water, and energy equipment. And in the food industry, and it includes all the specific products that we're looking at here, like centrifuges, compressors, cross-flow filters, dust collectors, dryers, ductwork, evaporators, fans, heat exchangers, etc., pumps and valves, scrubbers, and then consumables such as absorbents, cartridges, catalysts, filter cloths, treatment chemicals, and of course repair parts for things like your valves and your pumps. So the meat and poultry is a $4 billion subsegment of the $63 billion food and beverage AWE market, but it's part of a $300 billion total AWE market. The potential for the most profitable market approach would actually increase that $4 billion poultry market by 15%, all of which would be additional EBITDA. And the strategy includes a bottoms-up approach, starting with each owner and each unique process. It includes very specific forecasts rather than general forecasts. The extensive niche forecasts, it's the foundation of the business strategy rather than peripheral. And the pursuit of customers would be based on the EBITDA ranking rather than on sales leads. Understanding of the customer processes has to be very extensive. And the leveraging of available information is organized rather than unfocused. And competitor intelligence, rather than being opportunistic, is done on an extensive basis. Now, all this then requires a very detailed analysis of each of these segments, such as the meat processing. You start with how big the meat processing market totally is, which includes obviously other things besides air, water, and energy, and that's a $22 billion market. And looking at all the different processes that require air, water, and energy, you also have to consider the wastewater and water usage. And there's a very extensive water usage. For instance, there can be 350 gallons per animal in a beef slaughtering plant. Ultimately, you have to determine the unique cost of ownership factors for each company and each plant. What makes it somewhat easier is that many of the suppliers or operators of these plants are part of the 10 total global meat packer group. And in the U.S. alone, for instance, the top 10 U.S. meat processes are shown here. And there is some concentration of these various different markets, and beef and poultry and seafood, with the United States being obviously one of the biggest. But again, the analysis takes you to each country and to each process within that country, and how it can be, how it impacts the various different equipment, such as separation equipment. And again, the wastewater is a substantial portion of the total, but processing from even things like blood require air, water, and energy equipment. There's some new unique applications that are more like a pharmaceutical plant. One of them is cell-based meats, where you have media filtration, but then you have bioreactors and harvesting. So you have lots of pumps and valves and that would be similar to what you would get in some of your biopharmaceutical applications. Plant-based protein has its own unique flow diagrams. So clarifiers and decanters are used quite extensively in the byproducts, and the byproducts is a substantial portion of the total processing market. The pump applications are very substantial, and for instance, here's some air-operated double diaphragm pumps, and where might they be used? Well, they would be used in blood collection. They'd be used in rinsing, scalding, and hair, evisceration, wastewater, and then clean in place systems. You've got extensive use of pumps along with the treatment chemicals and sanitation processes. And then you've got sump systems, for instance, where you would have some unique pump requirements as well. The sandpiper pump blood collection is an interesting application as well. So these are some of the applications in the meat processing industry, and every place you see a pump here, you've got several different valves, you've got hose and coupling, and the rest of the air, water, and energy equipment. So the analysis of the meat processing sector is one of the important tasks that's needed to flesh out the total market in the air, water, and energy field, and for all these different opportunities. I'd like to thank you for spending some time to discuss all this afternoon. And this is Bob Mcilvaine welcoming any questions that you might have. And you can reach me at 847-226-2391. Thank you for your attention.